Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the 3 best ways that you can go about growing your business without having to spend more money on ads. And this is applicable for 2025 and 2026 and beyond until something changes. And if something changes, I will let you know. So I'm going to try and keep this sweet and short, and hopefully there will be value in it for you. Now, before we dive into today's video, I want to ask that if you enjoy marketing and business content, then I really believe this is the channel for you. I try my best to articulate the lessons I've learned in the last 12, 13, 14 years best I can. And from my point of view, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, then maybe just consider giving the channel a follow. Just click the subscribe button and maybe even hit the notification bell in order to be notified about more videos like this. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing my screen and it should pop up in a second. And yeah, then we're going to just take it one step at a time. So the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, why is it important to try and grow a business without spending more money on ads? And I think it's quite simple. You see, a lot of companies or startups bootstrap their businesses. And then what that means is that they actually fund their own growth. So they take the profits from the actual products that they've sold and they reinvest that into the business and they try and grow as effectively as they can. Now, if that's you, then you need to ensure that every cent that you invest actually, hopefully, turns into a rand, okay? That's what you need to do. If you're bootstrapping, your money has to go as far as possible. Now, the biggest reason startups close down is because of financial mismanagement, and this usually results into cash flow issues, okay? Like a lot of people think these cash flow issues are related to the fact that the business is growing quite quickly, and then they need more operational expenses and liquid cash in order to fund more product so they can keep scaling. And to an extent, that's true. However, most businesses don't even get to that growth part purely because of the fact that there's just financial mismanagement. And what I mean by that is that the actual founder in the business doesn't know how to squeeze as much money out of the money that he's putting into the business. And he's just following every Tom, Dick, and Harry's advice on what to do. And he believes every single consultant, what they say. And lastly, it's a situation where they invest in stuff that's just not making a return. And I've seen that many, many times. I'm actually seeing it with a business that we've invested in right now. And as much as we try and consult with the founder, the financial management is just not the way that it should be, which is also a lesson for us on our capital division, which we use to invest in businesses. Long story short, at the end of the day, if you spend money on your own business, your money just has to go further, because that's the only way that you are going to be able to keep funding your own growth. You have to be strategic with the money that you invest. And that's why this is important. Now, there's a disclaimer to this. Now, I don't want you to assume that this is the only way to grow a business, because we also have seen it with many other businesses that we own, is that sometimes the only thing that's left is just to invest more money in marketing. Okay. A lot of companies are at a point where they're basically ticking all the boxes. And the only thing left is just to spend more money on marketing. Okay, that's what we've done with one of our companies. We've done every single thing possible from, all the things we're going to be discussing today and more. And we were like, well, the only way to double our growth now is just to spend more. And guess what? It worked. So just keep that in mind. This is not the only way to grow. This is only if you feel that your marketing budget can go further. So before you double down what's already working for you, make sure to follow the 3 things that I'm going to be sharing now, and make sure that you do it exceptionally well. And what I mean by that is that you might sit there and go, oh, we do that. So my question would be, how effectively are you doing it? And what metrics are you tracking and measuring in order to determine if it's actually done effectively? Okay. It's a quantification, not a binary statement of whether you're doing it or not, yes or no. It's a quantification of how well you're doing it. And you need to look at the metrics in order to help indicate if there is more to do or not. Okay. Now, the first hack, and this is quite a simple one, is just to improve the website psychology. Now, a lot of people call this conversion rate optimization, but from my point of view, it's basically a psychological component that's usually missing when it comes to speaking to the customer in a specific way to get them to understand the value of the product and the business. And that's what conversion rate optimization is all about. Now, yes, conversion rate optimization consists of technical stuff as well. There's usually 2 things, technical optimization and psychological optimizations. From my point of view, from where I'm sitting, having worked with over 500 companies or more, I've seen that the technical optimizational part is really only 20% of the result. And sure, of course, you need a mobile-friendly website. Sure, of course, you need to ensure that everything is intuitive to use. Sure, you need to ensure that your website loads fast and it's not clunky and all these things. However, I have noticed that psychological changes always make the biggest impact. And I believe that's about 80% of the overall result when it comes to conversion rate optimization. Just my take on it. Now, conversion optimization and the psychology behind it is really what people see, read, interpret, and understand about the business product and service. Okay. If people are not converting at a high percentage, it's because they feel the product is not worth their money. Really as simple as that. And that could be for many reasons. Could be because they didn't have enough time to consume the information on the website. Could be because the information on the website was confusing. Could be because the information on the website wasn't really explaining the real benefit and how it might affect their lives in a beneficial way. It could be because the information was hidden. They couldn't even find it. All these things play a part in articulating the value of the product. Now, the first question you need to ask yourself is, why do people feel that there's no value in the product? Why is the price not justified in their minds? As I said before, could it be that they don't understand the products or its benefits? Okay. And how do you fix that? Well, the most underrated thing is just your product descriptions. And I would suggest that you have bigger, bolder, and simpler product descriptions instead of generic subjective words. A lot of people just have 1 or 2 sentences as product descriptions. And I think a very underrated hack is just to leverage that in order to write something that's actually speaking to your ideal ICP, your ideal customer profile, which we'll be talking about in a second as well. But it's really understanding that you have to be a bit more clear about how the product actually benefits the person on the other side. And don't just copy generic descriptions. Try and write your own. At the end of the day, try and be as clear as possible. Sometimes the font sizes of these descriptions are really small. People can't really read it. Sometimes it looks like a long WhatsApp joke that nobody wants to read. So are you spacing it out? Are you making it nicer? Are you using some CSS optimization in order to ensure it's visually appealing? The other thing that you can do is include videos on the product page, just of the product itself, how it works, and showing a day in the life, or getting ready with someone, or a before and after, whatever it may be, or just a little 30-second video explaining someone's feedback. More photos as well, just of the product. You can't have enough photos of the product, in my opinion. Try and have the product in different people's hands, different people using it, different scenarios, different settings, lifestyle, etc. Like all these things gives people a visual of how the product can be leveraged in their everyday life and how it can actually benefit them. Another underrated thing is just infographics. Like have infographics on the actual product page with stats and numbers on how it could potentially benefit their lives. If it's a nutritional product, what is the percentage difference in uptake and bioavailability? How can it help you run faster? Because there's maybe some clinical studies that have shown that this product has certain levels of enhancement that you can leverage on the actual product page, etc. So all of these things come to mind when I think product descriptions. Now, the other question is, do they actually understand the value of the product, right? This is what all of this is tied to the value, but from a more objective point of view, are you making the benefits easy to understand? Okay, like don't use overcomplicated words. Don't speak to someone who has a grad school education. Speak to someone like a 5th grader almost would. So it's understanding that you want to speak in layman's words. Most people, especially in South Africa, are not as educated as you want them to be. So keeping things simple is really just always the best tactic. There's literally a saying in marketing that keep it clear, don't be clever, or be clear, not clever, something like that. And that's really the bottom line, is keep things simple, and essentially more people will understand what you're trying to say. That's what it boils down to. Then the other thing is, are you speaking to the correct customer? Who is your ideal ICP? Is it a situation where your ICP just stands for ideal customer profile? So if you are talking about the product and the benefits of it, is the person you're speaking to actually someone who needs that product? So if you're going to say this product helps middle-aged moms, then you have to write your copy for middle-aged moms. If the product can help different types of people, I would say narrow it down to 2 or 3 personas, and then speak at least to those 3 personas in the product description as well. So it's a situation where you can just say, this is known to help this type of profile, this type of profile, that type of profile, and here's the reasons why. Who's this ideal for? And say, this is ideal for X, Y, and Z. So this is how people will then make the connection that this is actually something that can benefit me, because that's one of the biggest questions people ask at the end of the day. It's like, the product seems great, the trust and credibility is there, but will it work for me as Jandre and my daily life? So that's where the ideal customer profile comes in, and how you speak to those people in your product descriptions, the videos, the photos, and the infographics on the page, etc. Now, the next question is, can they trust you and the product? Okay. Do you have any objective proof that you offer a great product or service? And that boils down to things as reviews, testimonials, and maybe you've some awards. Another thing here could be featured in. Have you featured in a magazine or a publication? Did someone do an article on you? What kind of awards have you won? we bought into a little intimate health business, and they've won Home and Women in Home award and some beauty award, and it's really cool. And people will look at that and go, oh, geez, this means the product must be amazing, because otherwise they wouldn't have won the award. And that builds trust and credibility. So this is how you get people to believe in you and the product. Reviews, testimonials. Testimonials are actual videos from people explaining their journey. I mean, you can also call this UGC, but UGC is usually a bit more manipulated, where testimonials is just raw and authentic. And reviews is just what people type out on the site and give it a something out of 5-star rating. So that's really what that boils down to. Okay. The next question is, does it still feel like a risk? Okay, like that's a very important question. Like, you ticking all the boxes, this is for me, but what risk is there in buying the product? And this is where you have to ask yourself, do you have any satisfaction guarantees? Like, if people are not happy, can they claim a refund? What does your refund policy look like? How complicated is it? It's ideal to make the process as simple and fair as possible. You want to make it fair on the consumer. So you don't want to be in a situation where someone on the other side feels that this is completely unfair in order to get a refund. So something that's unfair would be to say that they can't do a refund. Number one, that will be a little bit unfair, unless it's a product that, like a protein powder, like if someone has used half the tub, it's not fair to you if they wanted to exchange it. But if someone, for example, haven't opened the tub yet and the tub is damaged, then essentially it should be fair that you should take responsibility, or the courier company or someone should take responsibility. It's not the consumer's fault that the product ended up at their front door broken. So it's trying to always keep it fair, right? Like, what is fair to you and what's fair to the consumer? And then how will that look like objectively? For example, the consumer can pay for the courier costs if they want to refund the product. That sometimes is seen as fair. But I mean, if you can cover that for them, they're going to love you. However, you might have more returns, but if you have a great product and really believe in it, then you're not going to worry, because you know people are not going to return it. So this is really where the quality of the product also comes into play. The question is it really that great? Some people will take chances, but that will be in the minority. And the amount of money you'll waste on that, if the product is amazing, is very little. But if the product is average, you might want to protect yourself more from a refund point of view. But then also people will most likely not feel comfortable buying from you. So these are the trade-offs. This is why having a great product is always the best thing for your business. All right, so we kind of reviewed this section now. This is number 1, improve your website psychology. And these are all the ways that you can go about it. If I had to give you a simple example, so one of our businesses that we own, we've got 50% shares in this business. It's called Sentimental. It's grown quite nicely over the last few years. You will see that this is what we do. So we have reviews. We make it easy for people to review the product. You can see we have 738 reviews. That builds huge amount of trust and credibility on a product. People can really, and look how the photos also make a difference. Now, there's a difference between a text review and a photo review. The moment if there's a photo review, immediately just screams more trust and credibility, right? Simple as that. We have this average store rating. We've got 14.4 thousand custom reviews, which is pretty insane. We can see our descriptions are written nicely, neatly, and it's easy to consume. It's not like a long WhatsApp joke, even though it is long, but this is people can quickly highlight what is important to them, because these are the nodes in the actual fragrance, and that's the stuff that we know people care about. We say this lasts up to 24 hours, so that catches their eye and is not just hidden somewhere here. We have fast free shipping as well, and refunds. So in essence, again, that's something that catches their eye as they scroll down. Another thing we do is we compare our prices to competitors, and people can see that we are the most affordable depending on what you buy. We have a 7-day risk-free refund. We have our trust score as well. We have a 4.8 trust score, and we have videos here as well. So these are all small little things that help create a perceived value in a way and get people to trust the brand. We also have a section that says, see how over 11, there should be 14,000 now, rate us. We do a little survey, and this is the stuff that people talk about. So 63% of say the quality and price are the main reasons they shop from Sentimental. Customers would recommend Sentimental to a friend. Of customers complimented on their Sentimental fragrance. And of customers say the Sentimental fragrance is close or exact match to their designer sense. So when people leave feedback, this is the feedback that we get. And we have small little things like 24/7 support. And we literally have a team that basically works 24/7. We don't just say 24/7. It's an actual thing that we do. Fast, free shipping nationwide, and 7-day money back guarantee. So these call outs is stuff that people pick up on as they go through the page. And like you can obviously read more about what is inspired by fragrances are, etc. Now, that's just a simple example of website conversion rate optimization. That's from a product point of view. And hopefully, that makes sense to you now. Let's move on to number 2. So number 2, it's really just WhatsApp and email automations. I think this is one of the most underrated things that people do, especially when it comes to re-engaging with people who have expressed interest, aka abandoned their carts. Okay, so people just don't do this for some reason. They just don't follow up, or when they do, it's a very generic approach. It's the default email from Shopify, for example. And from my point of view, you don't just want to send one follow-up, you want to send more, and you don't want to keep it generic. You want to change the messaging and make it as personal as possible and make it look like a real human actually wrote it or put thought into it. And you need to ask yourself first, before you start creating these abandoned cart sequences, you need to ask yourself, why do people leave? What is the main reason that they would leave? And this touches also on the reasons people probably won't buy, which we discussed earlier. And you can then answer all of those potential objections in the actual automations and the flows, which we call abandoned cart automations. Okay, so if a person leaves their cart and they don't convert, which is going to happen a lot, like 70%, 80% of the time, then you need to not send just one email, and you need to not just ensure that it's generic. It has to be, you're going to have to craft more emails, and we're going to show you in a second what those emails should look like. And then it's a matter of not just having generic messaging. Okay, so the first email, the very first email you want to send when someone leaves their cart is you want to ask them, is everything okay? The reason I love this is because it's a personal thing, right? Like if you can write an email almost like from the tech team itself, you're going to be surprised by how many people reply to this and actually engage back with you, because it's almost like, hey, we've noticed that you left your cart, you didn't convert, is everything okay? Is there a potential tech issue that we need to know about so we can tell our team? If everything is okay, here is the product that you checked out and maybe it's working now. Hopefully, you still want it or whatever it is. Like that email, and the subject line can literally just say, everything okay? Or question mark, just quick question. Like something like that gets people's attention as well. The open rates go up, and essentially that makes quite a big difference. And that also makes psychological sense, like to the person who just abandoned their cart. Like, is everything okay? Oh yeah, I just left something in my cart. It makes sense why they would email me if I didn't convert, and they're wondering if there's a tech issue of sorts. It's just a quick little hack that kind of helps it re-engage with people who've expressed interest. The next email you want to send is maybe an email with more specific USPs about the product. So people might have not converted because they're unsure if the product is really that valuable. Okay, so this is where you can explain the unique selling points of the product and get them to understand that it's different to competitors and that's at a better price and it's more money for value or value for money. And that's the email that you can use to do that with. And you can send that, a day after you've sent this email. So normally we'll send this email, I'd say 30 minutes and a 30-minute time frame. This can be one day after. And the next email could be for trust and credibility purposes. So this is where you include reviews of other people who've used the product. So now we've asked them if everything is okay to re-engage the conversation. Then we've expressed, what makes the business unique, what makes the products unique. And then we have an email that goes out a day after that speaks about all the different people who've used it and their feedback. And then one more email can be a limited time discount on the actual product. It could be 10% off or whatever it may be. So here's how you can send 4 flows or 4 emails in a flow and over a period of 2 to 3, 4 days. And every message is different. It's not just, hey, you left this in your cart, get it now. Hey, you left this in your cart, get it now. Like we have seen companies who just resend the same message once or twice. And it's like a very basic corporate email. And it's just something that someone is going to ignore. And you can't be upset with them because you would probably ignore it too. Simple as that. Okay. So another automation that works pretty well we've seen is welcome flows. So welcome flows is just when someone actually leaves the details on the website, whether it's through a giveaway or a newsletter sign up or 10% off first purchase, whatever it may be, right? If they become a subscriber, then it triggers what we call a welcome flow. And you want to send 4 emails in that flow. And the first email is from the founder and why the brand exists. Okay, so it'll be, if I had an online store as Jandre, I would say, hey, my name is Jandre, and thank you so much for expressing interest in the business and my products. And I just want to tell you a little bit more about who I am and why I started this company. Like keep it short, keep it simple, maybe have a video that people can watch, whatever it may be. Not everybody will watch it, but a small percentage will, and that kind of helps. Then the second email you want to send is an email from the customers and what they think about the business. So this is where, again, you include reviews, trust, like in the form of testimonials, just to build that sense of credibility that the product is actually useful and that other people actually like it and found value in it. Okay. And then the third email is from the founder and just focusing on unique selling points. of the product. It's basically similar to this email, the abandoned cart email, if you will. And then the last one is just a limited time discount again. So we've seen that these emails make a huge difference in conversion rate because those people did come to the site, but they didn't convert. And this is a way for you to re-engage with them in an automatic way. You don't have to do this manually. And that can push them over the edge and actually get them to commit to buying the product, which is great. That's what you want. Amazing. So now we've discussed that. I just want to quickly show you what automations can do for your business. So if we go to our dashboard here, and this is Sentimental last month, we did 5.8 million and automations generated 566,000 of that. So that's over, or close to 10% of revenue. Okay, so that's close to 10% of revenue was generated from automations. So if your business is doing, let's say 100K a month, you can technically make an extra 10K by implementing some of the stuff. And then again, you're going to say, yo, we do it. But the question is, how well are you doing it? And what metrics are you tracking to determine how efficient you're doing it? Okay, simple as that. Right, so let's move on to the last thing that you can do. And that is just more direct marketing via SMS, WhatsApp, and email when it comes to weekly campaigns. I truly believe this is a huge underrated thing. People just don't communicate with their customers on a regular basis. They kind of ignore them. They're always running ads to attract new customers, and they never really spend time nurturing the ones that they already have in the email list or people that have already bought and asking them to come back or giving them reasons to come back in the first place. So from my point of view, this is a hugely underrated thing. And a few things that you can keep in mind is that this is kind of like a small disclaimer. It only really works for brands who have around 5,000 email subscribers. So if you're not there yet, my best advice would be that you focus all your efforts on building a list ASAP. Okay. Like you need to build a list ASAP. If you don't have 5,000 people in your email list or SMS list, and you want to get there as quickly as possible, because that list will start to pay for itself if you do what I tell you to do, which is communicate with them on a weekly basis. Okay. But if you don't have people to communicate to, then this won't work. Simple as that. So how it looks in theory or in practice actually is just sending one campaign a week. Simple as that. Just send one campaign a week. However, disclaimer is that don't always force sales. Don't always just push sales. Yes, you want to have strategic offers for the people in your list. However, at the end of the day, keep in mind that people will get tired of you just pushing the same sale or the same discount or whatever it may be, or just discounts in general. So you maybe want to find a way to engage with that email list that's not just salesy. So maybe focus on educating them about the product. Maybe there's other things that you can educate them on to help them reach their goals. Because remember, it's not, people don't buy the product just because of the product. They buy the product because it helps them achieve a specific goal. So the question is, what is that goal? Now, if I have to just create an example for you, people buy, so we own 25% of a company called Glute Nutrition, and there is a product called Flat Tummy Toner. Now, the Flat Tummy Toner is a product that people buy because you would think that they want the product. But yes, what they actually want is a flat tummy. They want to lose tummy fat. So the product can help them do that, but there's other things that they can also do to reach that specific goal, which is eat better. So we can give them advice on how to eat better. We can give them advice on how to train better. We can give them advice on how to detox. All those things will help you lower and decrease your tummy fat. So the product in itself can aid, but there's a lot of other things that you can do as well. And that's where education comes in. So you need to educate them on the supplementary things that they can do in order to achieve the goal and the reason they actually bought the product in the first place. Simple as that. Another thing is you can do is entertain. Like a lot of people don't know how to entertain people in their customer lists or in their subscribe email lists or whatever you want to call it. Just purely because of the fact that not everybody's as creative enough. But with ChatGPT, you can get quite creative. You can literally say, hey, I want to, generate some form of entertainment for my email list. And as much as I want to educate people, I also want to entertain them, maybe tell them some stories about the product. Like people enjoy other people's perspectives on the same issues that they might be facing. So basically, people want to know what your perspective is around the problem that they might be facing as well. Okay, so let's use the glute example, the flat tummy toner. Like someone might want to know someone else's story on how they overcame being overweight. And it's as simple as just telling someone else's story. They were tired of being overweight after their divorce and 3 kids, and they were depressed. And at some point they had the epiphany moment of going, you know what, this is enough. And then there's this whole motivational story on how they found glute and the products and how they got back into training and eating healthy and how they lost 10 to 20 kilograms or whatever. That's a story. So there is some form of education, but it's a story that people tell, that people can resonate with. and it's a perspective from someone else on how a common problem was overcame. And I think that's what story is all about. Another thing that you can do from a sales perspective, but it's not as salesy, is send back in stock emails. So the moment the product's out of stock and it's back in stock, you can have the excuse of emailing people and going, hey, we're back in stock on this product. It does two things: remind people that the product's back in stock, but it also tells them, for the people who haven't bought, that this product is popular. That's probably why it's gotten out of stock. Which is pretty cool. You can send top trending emails, like this is the top trending products for this week, this month, whatever, this season. This is the weekly choice, editor's choice. This is what people are talking about. This is like the number one thing for this week, the topic for this week. And then something like latest arrivals. When you have new products, you can literally just talk about the fact that these are the new products. This is why we brought it into the range. So for example, if it's glute, we have flat tummy toner pills, but then we also now have a flat tummy tea and a flat tummy toner tonic. And so we'll say, hey, latest arrival. People are loving the capsules, but not everybody enjoys capsules. So we made a tea that you can use it's healthy and it helps you detox, and you can use it whenever you feel like it. So if you prefer drinking hot beverages, then this is for you. The other thing is a tonic. So the tonic is like, if you don't like capsules and you just want to take a quick sip of something that tastes nice, then this is for you. So that's kind of like how we would spin that. And guys, that's really the three things that you can do. It boils down to improving your website conversion rate optimization, which is just the psychological components mainly of how you articulate the value and the benefit of the products on the site, and how you build trust and credibility and mitigate risk for the consumer. You can focus on the automations, email and WhatsApp specifically, which basically includes re-engaging with people who've expressed interest, and just don't keep it generic and don't just send one or two, like send up to 4 or 3 at least, and keep the messages, different. Try different angles to get people to re-engage. And then lastly, build up an email list if you don't have one, and just speak to those people on a weekly basis and talk to them, build a relationship with them. I think we underestimate how valuable it is to try and build relationships with your consumers. It's almost like taboo, like nobody does it. We just want their money and we want to give them the product. No, actually build a relationship. Ask them what they want. What are the issues that they're facing? Do quizzes, do surveys. Do whatever you need to do in order to understand your customers or your target market better. Because the better you understand them, the easier it will be to sell them more stuff. That's really what it boils down to. So I hope there was value in this video for you. From my point of view, if you enjoy marketing and business content like this, then just hit the subscribe button and maybe the notification bell to be notified the next time I post a video. And in the meantime, I want to say much love. If you have any questions, just drop it in the comments. And I'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye.